What's up, everyone? It's your favorite marketer and podcast host. My name is Prit. I'm the author of Zero to Four Figures, a marketing strategy consultant, and a digital entrepreneur. A few of the roles that I do take on, I'm a podcaster, YouTuber, Etsy shop owner, and a Skillshare teacher as well. All of the links are in the description box below if you would like to check it out. On this podcast, I shuffle between giving solo podcast episodes and bringing in experts to give you actionable steps on various marketing, business, and mindset strategies to help you grow the business you love. Today, I have one such expert with me, Ann Watson. Ann Watson is a business strategy coach helping female communicators, coaches, and entrepreneurs learn to think like a business so they can inspire like a boss. She focuses on helping them prioritize all their ideas, break toxic thought patterns, and develop their signature offer so they can build a brand and business that is both inspirational and profitable. And it is such a pleasure and honor to have you on my podcast. How are we doing today?
Hey, Prit, thank you so much for having me. I'm doing great. The weather has finally gotten cold here in Texas, where I am. And so it's time to break out the fall sweaters and get in the season spirit, all the good stuff.
I think one thing that I really liked about the fall was just the dressing up, the layers and then the boots and feeling all fancy and so stylish in them. I absolutely used to love fall, and the colors are just beautiful in fall.
Yes,
Is it the same in Texas as well?
Well, we don't usually get like the really dramatic color changes in the leaves, but we get a little bit, and I'll take it all day.
That's amazing. So, as a fellow marketer yourself, and I think most of our topic today is going to be around marketing, it's going to be around personal branding. But before we get into that, can you share what your entrepreneurial journey has been like? How did it start? Where are you now? What are you doing now?
Well, my entrepreneurial journey was sort of a lot of twists and turns. I have a degree in advertising and a background in corporate banking. And then for years, ended up being a stay-at-home mom, but taking on a lot of really significant volunteer roles. Did that for a long time, went back into the workforce in the form of ministry, did that for a few years, and then ended up working with a conference for communicators, podcasters, speakers, authors, that kind of thing. And just sort of realized in that time that my corporate and marketing background fit really well with helping people who didn't necessarily see themselves as business owners, but it helped them develop their message, develop their platform, really get clear about who they were serving. And so I just decided to throw my hat in the ring, develop a coaching business. And that was about 4 years ago now. And I just love helping my clients get extreme clarity on what they're doing, who they're serving, the problem they solve, and then how to communicate it, among other things.
Oh, that's amazing. And so I know that you focus on helping female communicators, coaches, and entrepreneurs. So can you tell us some of the challenges that female communicators, coaches, and entrepreneurs face in particular compared to their male counterparts?
Well, I think for most of my audience, and I think this might be a little bit true for women in general, women struggle to find the confidence they need to really go after the dream or the passion in their heart. We are experts at talking ourselves out of things, unless it's for the good of other people, right? Like if somebody asks us to help, then we jump in and we're happy to do it and we don't need any credit and all the good stuff. But when it comes to creating a business for ourselves or a message for ourselves that we want to put out into the world, we hesitate, we second guess, we act like it's not a big deal, or somebody else has already done it, or we're not worthy to be paid for it. And so getting over that mindset is one of the biggest challenges that I see, especially for women who are starting out on that entrepreneurial communicator or coaching journey.
Absolutely. I 100% agree with that. I think that we have been brought up, to think a certain way. And I think especially in these moments, and I And I strongly believe it's not just even in the initial stages. I think it's all throughout our journey. At every single stage of growth, there's always that self-doubt. There's always that voice at the back of our minds telling us, to pause and think if we can do this or we're not. I think that's
Exactly.
it's a very normal process, I guess, for us to overcome that at every single stage. For me in particular, when I was publishing my book, it's pretty recent, and I was so shocked. I mean, I'm probably the most confident person I know, but at the same time, when I was going to publish this book, it's a business book. I'm a 30-year-old Indian woman, and it's a bit rare, it's a bit rare to
Right.
put a business book out there at my age and, with the race that I belong to. And I hesitated in that moment, Anne. I was like, should I put this out there? Should I say it's a business book? That was the conversation that I was having with myself. And I said, oh my God, I can't believe I'm actually succumbing to the narrative that is set by other people out there. And that moment of hesitation, I really needed to pluck up my courage and say, no, I'm going to actually label this a business book because it is, and I'm not going to succumb to that limiting belief. So I 100% resonate, and I highly respect what you are doing as well, because I think for us, I think entrepreneurship, like I've always mentioned, is a very natural progression of who we are. But at the same time, because of the limiting beliefs that we have, oftentimes many people are so afraid to even take a step towards that. And have you seen that with your audience, with your clients as well?
Oh, sure. I mean, I would say that for the most part, my clients are people who have said, I'm going to do this. This is my year. This is
Yep.
my time. I'm tired of feeling the angst of not
Yes.
having done it. I'm tired of staying the same and saying that this is going to happen, then it never does. I'm sick of it. And they just need a little bit of help, right? Because
Mm,
it's so hard for us to edit our own stuff,
yeah.
right? We can't see the back of our own label. And so
Mhm.
we need somebody who can come in and sort of take an overarching view at what we're trying to say and who we're trying to serve and what we're trying to do and the problem we're trying to solve. And when we can get so clear on those things, it builds confidence, it builds creativity, it builds motivation. And suddenly you're sitting down at your computer or in front of a client or wherever you are, and you're feeling like you know what you're doing
Yeah.
and that it's all going to be okay.
Yes, absolutely. I 100% resonate with that. And frankly, there's a smile on my face because I can remember those moments that, I was scared. I didn't know if I could do it, but it's just about getting that confidence to come to the table and just start doing it. And then, the confidence just flows even more. So I absolutely love your thoughts on this. And so now let's kind of get a little bit deeper into personal branding. And one of the questions that I do want to ask is, how do you define personal branding? What do you define personal branding as? And who do you think should consider personal branding?
So, personal branding is, in my opinion, so much easier than most marketers would have you think. There's a ton of well meaning people out there in the world that want to sell you a course or, get you into a workshop, whatever it is, to help you figure out your personal branding. But what I have really learned and what I believe is so true about personal branding is it's as simple as it's how people recognize you when they're not with you. And so if you have ever been in a store and you have seen something and you've thought to yourself, oh my gosh, this would be perfect for so and so, you have recognized that person's brand, right? You knew that person without being with them. So it's the same thing as you're building a brand for your business. It's putting content out there that lets people get to know you as a person so that they'll begin to recognize you when they aren't with you. So, one example that I give is a podcaster that I like to follow. She has this signature pink color. She puts it on everything. It's on her website, it's on her podcast cover art. She wears it in her photo shoots. It's like dripping in her workshop pages. it's this pink color, right? And I discovered myself being somewhere else and I would see this pink color and I'd be like, oh, Julie would like that. That's Julie's pink. Because I began to recognize her personal brand. So, to build a personal brand, you want to share what you love, right? It's about you, the colors that you love, the passions that you have, and share them so consistently that people really get an opportunity to know you. And when they feel like they know you, they begin to trust you. And when they feel like they trust you, then they're more likely to hire you or to purchase from you because you're a kindred spirit. There's somebody who they feel like can be friends with you. And really, it's just as simple as let people know you.
I think you've touched upon a lot of important points in just a few minutes of your talk, because one, you talked about consistency, which I think is very, very important. You said putting out content about you consistently. And I think that's one of the challenges that we face. And we'll talk a little bit about that in just a bit. The second thing that you mentioned is the fact about getting people to get to know you. I know that especially in the beginning stages, which is where my audience is at, there is a good amount of hesitation when it comes to saying, talking about ourselves or putting ourselves out there, and I was in that phase 3 years ago as well. So what would your thoughts be on how to get comfortable with allowing people to get to know us and establishing our personal brand that way?
So, there's a lot of different conversations out there in the world about how much is too much, right? How much is too much information that you're putting out into the world? And what kind of boundaries should you have? And I'm here to tell you, you need boundaries. You do not have to post every single little thing if you don't want to. If you don't want to post pictures of your kids or your dog, you don't have to do that. It's not about putting every single thing about you out into the world. It's getting vulnerable with people, at least in one or two areas where they really feel like they're breaking down the walls between the two of you so that they can kind of get a glimpse into your life. It's also about not giving in to the temptation to be perfect, right? It's do it messy. It's take messy action. If you want to try posting pictures about your dog, do it. And if people seem to resonate with it and you can somehow tie it back into your business or service, then that's working for you. I think one of the things that people assume, especially when they're starting out, is that they have to have it all figured out. And they don't. I'm here to tell you, when you begin to build your personal brand, start putting stuff out into the world and see what resonates with your audience. Make sure you're paying attention. If you got, 3 comments on this post and nothing on this post, then create more content that's similar to the one that got 3 comments. And then the next time you'll get 6 comments. Create more content just around that. The next time you might get 10. Staying true to who you are, but being willing to experiment a little bit, I think is key for you to really get into the groove and get into the swing of your personal brand and your message and letting people know who you are.
That's fantastic. I really appreciate that you mentioned, it's all about authenticity and being able to put your boundaries. So even if people are hesitating to put themselves out, as long as you have strong boundaries, okay, well, this is topics that I will talk about. These are topics that I'm not comfortable talking about, so I'm not going to put them out there. I think that's a very good advice that you've given to my audience. Also, you talk a little bit about having that structure. And I think that's also super, super important. The confidence, the structure, and the authenticity. I really liked those 3 points. And so now digging a little bit deeper into personal branding, where can they start when it comes to personal branding? What are the few things that they need to have figured out?
Well, here's the thing. I don't think there's any rules about where you should start. Where do you want to start? Because this is the number one piece of advice that I have, especially for people that are just brand new. Pay attention to what you love. Do you love certain colors? Do you love graphic design? Do you love sharing stories? Where are you having fun? And put your efforts and your energy into that. That's where you should begin to build your personal brand. Do you love creating video? Do more of that. Do you hate social media, but you don't mind sending an email to your list? Work on being an expert email person. Whatever it is, my encouragement and advice for where to start is, where do you love? What do you want to do? Because I think too many people get stuck in this place of, I have to do all the things, and they don't pay attention to the stuff that really brings them joy. And then they find themselves 6 months or a year in, and they're burnt out and they're stuck and they don't know why. And it's because they were so busy trying to follow all the rules that they didn't pay enough attention to the part that they really, really loved. And that to me is the biggest mistake. So, where to begin with your personal branding? What do you want to do? What do you love to do? Start there.
I love that. I absolutely love that, because as a marketer myself, this is something that I keep telling everyone, because for me, this was what I learned along the way. When I first started out, I thought I had to emulate other people, the serious professional kind of looking people. And I was burned out within a year. Absolutely. Just like you said, I was absolutely burned out. I refused to even think about content creation because I felt so restricted. And I realized that the branding, the personal branding that I had done for one whole year, despite being a marketer, was that I was trying to fit into someone else's definition of what personal branding is. And it took me a lot of time to understand that, okay, well, I'm someone who loves Bollywood dancing, so I'm going to somehow connect Bollywood dancing to my business. And that's what I do today. And today, even when I make a mistake while shooting a podcast episode, I don't delete the whole thing. I just laugh it off and I move forward with it. And that's a part of my personal branding as well. Those are values that stick with me. Those are things that I love doing that resonate with me. And so I think what Anne, just to summarize what Anne has said, and she said it so wonderfully, is that you've got to understand what works for you. Especially in the beginning, when you're so excited, you look at your heroes out there, you want to emulate them. And I gotta say, I made that mistake. It's about understanding what's unique to you. And I think that there is just so much charm when you actually bring out your own personality, when you stay true to the values that you resonate with. Have you noticed any difference between, sticking to the values that resonate with you and seeing someone who's just emulating someone else? Can you make out the difference, Anne?
Yeah. I mean, I think that for most of us, we've gotten pretty good at having a well-honed authenticity meter, right? Like I don't know about where you are, but over here in the States, the politics is on TV 24/7. And, we've just learned how to pick out when people are trying to tell us what they think we want to hear. And I don't know about you. I have very little patience for that, right?
Yes.
Don't tell me what you think I want to hear. I want to know what you actually think. I want to
Yes,
know how you
absolutely.
actually feel. I have so much more respect for influencers that I follow that, you know, jump on there without makeup or talk about these mistakes that they've made or can laugh at themselves because they're not so busy trying to be perfect
Yes.
that they are actually very authentic. They're people I feel like I could be friends with. And so, yeah, I just feel like authenticity is the key.
Absolutely.
And it's often, I think, hard, especially when you're starting out. And if you have any kind of business background at all, there is a disconnect between feeling professional and wanting to write professional emails and professional content with a professional tone versus you being authentic and just truly being yourself. It is a shift in the industry.
Yes.
And so if you're sitting down to write content and you're feeling like it doesn't really truly represent you and who you are, that's okay. Keep trying. Keep putting content out there. keep trying to be authentic, keep trying to peel the layers back a little bit, and you will eventually find your voice. So, but it's a common struggle, I think, for people. And I just say that because I don't want people to sit down and be thinking that they're creating content that comes across as stiff or professional, that they're not good at this. That's not true. It's just a new muscle they need to flex,
Yes.
and they need to get used to it, but really work on being truly who you are, your opinions, your humor, your love of Bollywood dancing or Broadway shows or whatever it is. Let that come across, and people will identify with you and they will see themselves in you. And that is building a personal brand.
Absolutely. I think that's wonderfully said. And I think that you hit, I think, 2 or 3 points. One, you talked about the subconscious, meter that every single person has. I think it's true. I really think so, because when I look at influencers, or I look at anybody for that matter, even in real life, I can sense that, something's off. You might not
Right.
explicitly know that, something's on or off, but you will kind of figure out, okay, something does not fit right. And imagine if you're talking to your clients or you're talking to potential audience and they feel that disconnect, they subconsciously feel a disconnect. I think that's why it's so important to be authentic in your personal branding, because at the end of the day, every single person that you're speaking to, they can sense the energy. And if you're not aligned with who you are, if your personal branding is not true to who you are, I think that creates a disconnect, and they might not understand it themselves, why they don't want to move forward with you. But I think it does affect. And for me personally, in the first year that I was trying to emulate other people, it was a huge disconnect. My clients were not able to understand me. And not just that, I think I was attracting the wrong audience as well, because I was trying to be someone else. And so I think that also brings me to another point where you actually start to attract the right kind of people. And the second thing that you mentioned that I really liked is how, when it comes to personal branding, it's just about authenticity. And as long as you can stick to that, as long as you can keep putting yourself out there, I think that's a good starting point. And you also mentioned that it is a trial and error. I think a lot of people don't understand that, and they get really, really frustrated that they're not hitting the right tone or they're not feeling authentic. But as Anne said, it's just a process. You've got to, it's a muscle, as Anne said. And I really appreciate that thought, because for me as a marketer, it's very easy for me to do it for someone else. But when it comes to us understanding our personal brand, digging deep into who we are as a person, it's hard. It's a bit hard. It's really easy for me to pick out for someone else and tell them, oh, this is your strength. This is what you should be doing on. But when it comes to digging into myself as a person, that was a roller coaster ride for me. It was a journey of, mental conflict as well, and a lot of inner dialogue, like, should I do this? Well, but this is me, but I got to, it's all of that messy conversations that over time I've created a very strong personal brand, but it wasn't like that to begin with. And I think Anne points out that it is just a trial and error process. And so, Anne, now that we've spoken so much about personal branding, what has been your experience with personal branding? What has your personal branding journey been like? Has it been frustrating, crazy, easy?
Sure, all of those things. And I would say it's evolved, right? I think it's important when you're just starting out to just pick something and commit to it and go for it, right? I tell my clients, you've got to pick something that you want to talk about, or a problem you want to solve, a person you want to help, a brand you want to commit to. You've got to stop second guessing yourself, pick something and commit, and try to commit for at least 6 months before you start thinking that you might change it, because you need at least that long to gather data and feedback about all of those things that you're doing to figure out A, what's working, what isn't, and B, what you love and what you don't. And, when we're talking about personal branding and really developing your voice and flexing that muscle, I think it's important to also talk about, and it's kind of an advanced concept, but I think it's good for especially new business owners to have this in their mind, that when you are putting yourself out there, you really want to attract the right customer. You also want to repel the wrong customer. And so if you're putting stuff out there and people are like, she is not for me, that is not what I think, that great. That is a win. Because if you are trying to serve too many people, or you're trying to be a chameleon so everyone likes you, you're watering down your efforts. You're watering down your brilliance, and you're not giving people all of you in a way that's going to create transformation in them. And so I my journey has definitely evolved. I started out thinking it was all about colors, and then I started really just trying to add my voice. And then as I have gone along, I have narrowed down who I'm really serving and the problem that I'm truly solving. And I keep getting better at this every year, right? I'm 4 years in, 5 years in, something like that. And my business looks extremely different today than it did when I first started out. And that's okay. That's a beautiful thing. It has evolved, and I wouldn't have it any other way. And I just want to encourage other people with that. Just start, pick something, stick with it, look at it again in 6 months, tweak it, stick with it, look at it in 6 months, and let your business evolve. You will build a business you love that truly serves and helps other people.
Absolutely, 100%. I really like the 6-month concept because that's also something that I truly believe in. You can't really figure out the results of what you've done unless you wait out a good period of time. A lot of people, keep switching because of the shiny object syndrome, or they just get dejected so fast because they expect instant results. And I think 6 months is a very healthy timeline to keep in mind as a reference, just to see whether it is working or not. And not just that, I think if you keep switching between different strategies again and again within, a very small period of time, it confuses your audience as well. It confuses you, confuses your audience as well. So I really like what Anne said about the whole process. And of course, for people starting out, personal branding can be a little bit overwhelming. What is your advice for that? If people find it overwhelming, how do they get over that overwhelm?
Well, again, it's not about doing what every expert out there has said to do. Start small. Start by just letting people know you. Pick your favorite colors, pick your favorite looking design. It doesn't have to be perfect, but then just focus on your voice, being authentically you and talking about that thing that you do that is so brilliant and unique to you. The rest of it will come. If you are feeling overwhelmed, if you are feeling like there's too many things and you don't know which one to pick, that is a sign. Stop. Go back to the beginning, start small, post one thing, and then just let it evolve. Post one thing the next day, one thing the day after that. It doesn't have to be this full blown huge strategy in the beginning. It just needs to be a little bit more you each time you show up.
Absolutely, 100% agree with that. And I'm so glad that you mentioned it because a lot of times, people think that, I guess I understand where they're coming from because, there's just so much content out there that says, okay, you need to have all of this figured out. You need to have this, complete strategy. And when you have a team, when you have a marketing team, it's a little bit easier to get that aspect done. But when you are by yourself, it's important to understand what your limitations are. And it's also important to understand that you've got to work step by step, slowly, and, one by one, things will slowly figure out. And I really like that Anne was so soothing in her conversation, because it does happen, even 3 years in, I'm pretty sure even with you, as you said,
Yep.
it's a constant process. You are changing over the time as well. You are probably pivoting in your business. The business growth encourages another aspect of personal branding that is brought to your attention. So it's an ever evolving process. And frankly, even to this day, I know that there's probably more that I need to figure out. And I'm pretty sure also understands that, as her business grows, personal branding is going to shift along with that as well. So I think one big takeaway for me for this entire episode is that it's a step-by-step process. And as long as each step you are being authentic to yourself, that's a total game changer. And that's how you're going to combat the overwhelm that comes with personal branding. And Anne, if there's one piece of advice that you would like to give my listeners, what would it be?
Well, I mentioned it really early before. It's focus on what you're doing that is fun for you. That is the thing I think is going to keep you feeling confident. It's going to keep you feeling motivated. It's going to keep you feeling invested. And when you are focused in your area of genius, which is typically the fun part, right? You're going to get transformations and life change for the people that you serve, whether it is as some kind of coach, as a workshop host, if you sell a product. I mean, even if you're selling candles, if you're, doing something that you love, people will know that, they'll feel that, and they will be changed by that. So focus on the fun stuff, the stuff that you love. Everything else you can hire out, you can delegate, or you can just procrastinate until you can't procrastinate it anymore. But have fun in your business. That is so key.
Absolutely. I love that thought so much, because I think that a lot of us, we took this path for the freedom that it comes with, right? I mean, it comes with a lot of hard work, it comes with a lot of highs and lows, but we chose this path because of the freedom. And if we don't, feel happy and enjoy the process of that freedom, then what was the point of even taking this path? I mean, that's what I always tell everyone as well. So it's really nice that you say that we have to enjoy, we have to have fun. I love that. I love that. And I truly resonate with that. That's probably how I make my business decisions as well. Am I having fun? Am I
Right.
enjoying this? That's it. It's just that. And I think, especially when I'm having fun, I know that the people listening to me or, viewing my content are also enjoying. It's not just the energy that I'm putting out, but it's also the quality of content that I'm putting out as well. And so I think somehow it interconnects. And basically the end goal is you have fun, do what you enjoy, bring out your authenticity at every single step that you take along the way. It could be small steps, and that's okay. But that's the best way to go about personal branding. Thank you, Anne, for hopping on the Marketing Nomad show. It's been an absolute joy to have you on my show. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. And thank you to your listeners. And I just love serving in this way. So thank you again.
If any of my listeners want to reach out to you, how can they do that?
Well, you can find me on Instagram at Ann Watson TX, and that is Ann with an E. And then you can also find me on my website, which is annmwatson.com. And that is also Ann with an E. So I would absolutely love to talk to anybody who wants to talk more about personal branding or starting a business, whatever it is.
Absolutely.
Happy to do it.
I'm going to put all of the links in the description box below. Feel free to check it out. Visit Anne's Instagram page. Tell her one thing that you liked about this podcast episode. Say hi to her. She's really, really friendly. And I'm sure that you guys will hit it off. Thank you so much for listening all the way up until here. I will catch you in my next episode. Bye-bye.